especially in the last couple years, of a bigger focal point on assault on campuses, and it's become a national storyline almost every week, and that's not good for college athletics in any way.
Agreed.
So moving on to Boise State, they're playing right now, winning 14-10 over BYU. They're the new Houston. They're the new out of the big conferences, hot undefeated team right now. They're 6-0 at ranked number 15. How awesome would it be if Boise State could crash the party at Tomas and be undefeated and get in the playoff?
I think it would be so exciting. I think Boise State, for those of us that were watching a lot of college football back in about in that 5 to 10 year ago range, they were darlings of a lot of people. I thought a lot of people thought they were just awesome. They had their crazy blue field. I mean, who does that? I mean, playing a blue field, and I forget whether it was 2007 or it was the 2007 season where it may have been around there. I might be off by a year when they played Oklahoma at the Fiesta Bowl and defeated Oklahoma with this just crazy hook and ladder play, followed by a Statue of Liberty 2-point conversion. It was insane. It was one of the most exciting games I've ever seen. So I think at that point, Boise won over a lot of fans. I also remember thinking, I mean, that was as you had in the 2000s. There's a time where like Utah won all their games, and because they were out of the not one of the big powerful conferences at the time, they did not get a chance to. They didn't even get considered to go play in the championship game. Similarly, Boise State won all their games and not even get considered to be national champion. And so for me, it would be awesome to now be in a system, even though ideally I'm a proponent of the 8-team playoff. I think that would be ideal. But even having Boise State get in there as one of the top 4, I would think it would be very exciting. So I'm admittedly, like a lot of people, I think I have a soft spot. It just might be like looking back at some of those very exciting Boise teams. Back when they had Kellen Moore at quarterback, and he won a crazy number of games. It was just fun to watch.
Yeah, Boise State. I remember that too, and they were just phenomenal to watch. They'd always be in the top 10, scheduling really tough non-conference opponents to make sure that they get considered following that Oklahoma win, because that's when they finally got on the map. They started off with Utah, as you mentioned, Tomas, I think back in 2004, when they had Urban Meyer there, and he just led the undefeated Utah team, and was like, oh, okay, there are actual teams outside of the big conferences that can compete. And so it led to teams like BYU somewhat being competitive, Houston now being competitive. So it has led, and even Hawaii when they had their undefeated season as well. So it's led to at least the consideration of, hey, they're undefeated, they should be in. And I think Houston. I was rooting for Houston to do it. They're not, they lost, so they're definitely not getting into the playoff. But Boise State's I think the last hope. And I think that they have that best opportunity to do so, considering their schedule. They're leading BYU right now. They play at Wyoming. They play San Jose State, at Hawaii, at UNLV, and at Air Force. It looks like a pretty favorable schedule. They're not ranked. None of the teams they're playing are ranked. They just have to beat them, and I guess the quote-unquote style points by just running the score up and hoping that the committee puts them in that position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have to admit, it's strange to me, having grown up watching soccer, to just the system we still have in college football, where a team can line up, put on their gear, put on their helmets, play against the guys in front of them, win every single time, and because some guys voted otherwise, not have a chance to even win the championship for that league that they're competing for. It's just crazy to me. And the first year that I actually watched college football was 1994, and that was a year where both Penn State and Nebraska went undefeated. And because of the bowl alignments at the time, I thought, well, you got Penn State and Nebraska both undefeated. Surely that's going to be the final, right? And it was explained to me that no, it's not actually. Penn State is going to play Oregon, and Nebraska is going to play Miami. And Nebraska was 1, Penn State was 2, Miami was 3. So, the 1 versus 3 was, it's a much more heralded game, whereas Oregon was not ranked nearly as high, but they were the Pac-10 champs, and so, they had to play against Penn State due to those agreements. Now, both Penn State and Nebraska won their games, and I thought, well, what happens now? Do they play each other now? Nope, that's it. And then the voters picked Nebraska. But I thought it was just absurd. I mean, you got like these physical, it's such a physical game, football is, and then it's decided on beauty style points as if it were diving or figure skating. So to me, that is, it's still very strange. I think with the playoff, we are working towards a fairer system where I think anybody will hopefully have a shot, but obviously we're still not there.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it's a work in progress. And like eight, as you mentioned, 8 teams would make a little more sense, but hey, that's what we got to deal with right now. So, Tomas, what we're going to do now is we're going to go to Pick'em for this week. So all the top 25 teams, we'll just kind of go down and see who you got and go from there. So the first matchup I'm looking at for Saturday, since BYU's playing Boise State right now, NC State, Louisville. Louisville's at home. 19.5-point favorite, pretty big. But NC State almost pulled off, beat Clemson last week. Do you think they could do it against Louisville?
I think Louisville is gonna. I'm not a betting man. I don't know necessarily they're gonna cover. But NC State has had a couple of really tough weeks. I mean, as far as the close loss to Clemson, it sometimes can be more draining when you play a tough game and then end up losing. And then they played Notre Dame, that Hurricane, really 2 weeks ago. So I think it's been a rough emotional ride for them, and to deal against the Louisville offense, I think it's going to be too much.
Wisconsin, number 10, losing the last couple of games here, but they play Iowa in Iowa City. Does Iowa pull off the upset or no?
I am going to pick Wisconsin on this one, in spite of Iowa's home field advantage. I think Wisconsin is a tough, solid team. They have those 2 losses, but I mean against Michigan and Ohio State, I mean that's pretty. Those are challenging games. So Iowa definitely has a shot. I think it'll be one of those like ugly Midwestern, 20-17 type games. But I'll pick the Badgers.
Yep, I'm going with the Badgers as well. So 22 ranked North Carolina going to Charlottesville, taking on Virginia. Virginia's pretty terrible, 2-4. For me, it's pretty easy, North Carolina.
I would agree. Yeah, I don't think there's much debate there.
So the other undefeated team outside of the big conferences is Western Michigan right now at 20, 7-0, 3-0 in the MAC. They take on 5-2 Eastern Michigan. I'm picking Western Michigan. See what happens.
They have a better record. I don't know much about either team, I must confess. So let's go with Western Michigan as well.
There we go. So the big matchup of the weekend, number 6 Texas A&M going down to Tuscaloosa to take on Alabama. Alabama's a 19-point favorite. That's unbelievable considering both teams are in the top 10, not top 6 in the country. It's that much of a disparity. Trevor Knight's been pretty good. The transfer from Oklahoma's had a pretty good season. Is it possible? Can they? Well, obviously you're going to both pick Alabama, but what is going to happen for Texas A&M to beat Alabama?
I think it has to be one of those freaky games, like when Ole Miss beat Alabama last season, and Alabama had like 5 turnovers, and a pass gets thrown, hits someone's helmet, and just bounces into the other guy's hands. I think that kind of thing needs to happen. I think if both teams just line up and have a relatively mistake-free game, there's no way that A&M really has a shot. Alabama has proven they can pull away from teams early. They can wait up and turn on the Jets later. I mean, that early game against USC was close into the second quarter, and then it ended up 52-6. So I think it's very tough. I mean, Ole Miss actually, they gave them a good fight for a while there, but Alabama at the end of the day was too strong. So I think everything needs to go right for the Aggies. I mean, they need to they need to for sure do their part and play mistake-free. They need to not let the crowd take them out of the game, but they also need a lot of the fluky bounces to go their way.
No, I completely agree. The next two we'll probably just skip. Illinois play Michigan. It's a 38-point favorite, and Purdue against Nebraska, 24-point favorite. One of the ones that I'm interested in is Memphis and Navy. Memphis is a 1.5-point favorite. Navy upset Houston. They're 4-1. Their offense is one of the trickiest to deal with in college football. So,
yes, it is.
Do you think that Memphis can stop them or no?
I think it's going to be hard for Memphis, actually. Usually in games where it's Navy and it's close, I am partial to picking Navy just because as a Notre Dame fan, I am so used to watching that offense and seeing how hard it is if you're not used to that style. So for certain teams, if you happen to have Army and or Georgia Tech also in your schedule, then maybe you've had more similar styles to compare and prepare as well. I don't know that that's been the case with Memphis. So Navy, I think, has that triple option down to absolute clockwork. So yeah, I'm not saying it'll be easy, but I'll pick Navy on that one.
All right, I completely agree there. With TCU going to West Virginia, again, West Virginia is the 12th ranked team in the country, 5-0. They're a 6-point favorite, home field advantage. TCU still pretty good at 4-2. Can they upset West Virginia?
I mean, I think they can. It's the game is at West Virginia. You mentioned
it's at West Virginia.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's one of those games where if it were in a neutral field, I would be tempted to pick TCU. However, down in West Virginia, I mean, that crowd gets really rowdy. It's a tough place to play. I think ultimately that home field advantage is going to keep the Mountaineers on top.
One of the early Heisman favorites was Josh Rosen out of UCLA. He's still having a pretty good year on his own thus far, but UCLA is 3-4. They take on Utah at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. Utah's ranked number 19 in the country. Can UCLA pull it off?
I mean, this is at the Rose Bowl. I think it's possible. I think they've got a legit shot at doing it. I think in the Pac-10, it's or Pac-12. I mean, it's strange. It's a hard to predict conference, quite frankly. I mean, who would have expected the results we've seen with Stanford just struggling as much as they have in some conference games, and then again Washington just having the kind of season that they have. So I would say it's not outside of the realm of possibility. And in fact, I mean, Utah they're a solid team, but they're not. I wouldn't say they're a spectacular team either. So actually, Sam, I'll go ahead and pick the Bruins on this one.
Okay, that would be awesome if they could upset them. So we got Arkansas and Auburn, two ranked teams. Arkansas is number 17. Auburn is number 21. It is an Auburn, though. Pretty good offenses from both. Both only have 2 losses right now, 5-2 for Arkansas, 4-2 for Auburn. Who wins this game?
Well, I think that, as you mentioned, the two teams are fairly comparable, and I'll defer to whenever, and this might be my cop-out here, but whenever I spot two teams as being fairly even, I do tend to go for that home field. I think in college football, those fans, especially in places like, down south and Auburn, I mean, that War Eagle, I mean, people are going to propel their home team to victory.
Oh, yeah. No, I completely agree. I'm the same way. I'm always home team first, especially in a close game if it's under 6 points. So back in your neck of the woods at Beaver Stadium at Penn State, Ohio State comes to town. So right now, Penn State's 4-2. They are a 19.5 underdog, though. Can Penn State do it or no?
No, they cannot. I really think it's going to be too difficult. I know that Penn State is really trying to rally their fans and make it a very aggressive atmosphere, and I think they'll do their best in that regard. But I just think the disparity in talent is too much, and